How's it going, everyone? Javiti here with another spec guide video. This time we're going to be focusing on a damage dealing hunter. So this is going to be very similar to my solo hunter gatherer, with the exception of we're really not going to take any gathering skills. So you basically have two choices. You can focus on sling bows or bombs. I pretty much recommend focusing on sling bows because bombs, while if you spec heavily into them, they do amazing damage. They tend to tear up the terrain. Bombs are kind of expensive and they have low durability. So that, and there's just some instances where hitting something with a bomb is fairly tricky to near impossible. So for this build at least, we're going to be focusing on sling bows, but you do have the option of basically, instead of investing in sling bows, you could either split your focus between sling bows and bombs or focus entirely on bombs. The choice is obviously yours. So starting off, we're just going to go ahead and basically grab anything to do with damage or sling bows. That means the sling bow mastery, the sling bow epic, and then that's damage epic down at the bottom. Another thing to consider is either the rapid fire epic or the charging epic. The charging epic gives you about an extra 20% damage on top of your sling bow if you fully charge it. However, DPS wise, this is a little bit lackluster, as the rapid fire is much better for sustained DPS. However, the rapid fire spec is going to be much harder on your sling bow durability as well as your energy pool, so that is something to consider. Not to mention, if you have a fast firing sling bow, you can still get a pretty good rate of fire by just timing your clicks. So since this build is going for maximum damage, I'm going to go ahead and recommend the Rapid Fire Epic. Especially since we have the Rapid Fire Epic, I would highly recommend the Durability Drain Epic. Basically, I would recommend this for any build that can manage to squeeze this in. Certainly, if you don't care how much money you're spending doing your activities, you could forego this and you would just have to replace your gear a little bit more often. Since we're taking the Rapid Fire Epic, we'll definitely want this Energy Regeneration Epic to be able to restore our stamina faster, as that Rapid Fire is going to drain it like crazy. The Jump Distance Epic is also invaluable for maneuverability, so I feel like that is a must-have. Optionally, you could take the Air Jump Epic, but I feel like it's a bit of a luxury. Under Endurance, you might want to spend a number of points at least into Kinetic Armor. Kinetic Armor deals with all single target damage that you take and is the most likely thing you're going to get hit by. You could also consider Impulse Armor. However, usually when you get hit by impulse damage, it is going to be much higher than this armor value. Not to mention, impulse damage is fairly easy to dodge. However, there are situations where it is fairly unavoidable, so something to consider. I generally forego impulse armor. Coming up here, I usually take the Health Epic. So I think that's what I'm going to do. This is mainly because I generally prefer getting the Zeal bonus up here for the increased buff duration. So if you're using a food buff during the hunt, then this is going to increase the duration of that and hopefully give you an increased return on your investment into that food. So that should give us plenty of stamina, allowing us to take this Health Epic, which will allow us to take less vitality up here for a greater effect. So the amount of vitality that you have is certainly a matter of personal preference and how comfortable you are with dodging damage. And there you go, that is at least my take on the essentials for a hunting build. As you can see up here, we only have 86 point spin, so we have quite a few points to play around with. Some interesting options would be to pick up dexterity bonus over here for increased attack speed. However, since we already have all the sling bow mastery, that is probably going to be overkill, and you might find that each creature you end up wasting 3 or 4 bolts, either missing or shooting the creature after it's already died. So depending on just how fast you want to attack, you might consider dexterity. If you wanted to get a little extra oomph out of your healing items, you could also take the intelligence bonus over here, and for each point it's going to increase your healing by 10%. Again, that's personal preference. You could simply use a better healing potion or more healing potions to get the same effect. Another thing that might be nice to pick up would be grapple mastery for the increased range and mobility. However, depending on what type of grapple you're willing to use, you don't necessarily need that either. And certainly if you wanted to dabble into bombs, you could pick up some bomb mastery for increased damage for those. Also, there is the Shadow Step Epic. This is going to decrease the range at which creatures aggro onto you. This can actually be very useful for trying to get roadrunners, as you can get closer to them before they start to run. However, keep in mind that this will not help keep the aggro off of you. This only affects the distance at which creatures react to your presence. There's also the Threat Epic over here, but you really shouldn't take this unless you're tanking, and this is certainly not a tanking spec. You just have extra points to burn and you don't want to have to worry about torches, you could pick up the Light Source Epic. Another interesting option is if you wanted to gather some surface resources along the way, you could pick up the Gathering Epic to either get more drops or more placeable items. Okay, well, I think that covers the dedicated DPS hunter pretty well. As you can see, there's lots of different options. You can even dabble into other areas. If you just really didn't want any of these other convenience things like light source or air jump, you could even dabble into a little bit of crafting, but I'd probably recommend saving crafting for a dedicated build. Anyway, this was Javita. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and if there's anything you didn't like, please let me know down below. Also, if you like my channel and want to get cool perks, check out my Patreon page. Until next time, peace.